Some of my presentation is a little, is the mic on? Am I, Anna? Okay. Some of my presentation is documentation of a project that I worked on that's a little older than current, but I think that if you see the example that you might be able to help me. I am asking for your help because in South Dakota, this program is not currently what you would consider to be energized, and it is in other states, and I'll show you that. So the program that I'm talking about is the Pollution Prevention Act of 1990 required EPA to go ahead and establish a source reduction program which collects and disseminates information, provides financial assistance to states, and implements other P2 activities. This is what they consider to be pollution prevention. If you look, it's not disposal, it's not treatment, it's not recycling, it's not reuse. It's actually source reduction. This is their grant program, the initiation of one from 2024 to 2025. And if you see, it's $9.3 million in total that they gave out in grant funding. $350 is the ceiling for one of the grants, and it offered every 2 years. States and state entities such as USD, and I'm hoping USD becomes a part of this, as well as maybe SDSU and South Dakota School of Mines. Also, tribal nations can actually be part of this too. The projects that must fit within this program are 6 projects: food and beverage manufacturing and processing, chemical manufacturing, processing and formulation, automotive manufacturing and maintenance, aerospace product and parts manufacturing and maintenance, metal manufacturing and fabrication, and then, of course, the Indian country and Alaska Native villages. This is what EPA actually saved in their P2 source reduction assistant grants in 2011 and through 2022. It's $54 million that they gave out the grants, and they saved $2.3 billion for businesses, because these businesses are the industry, they get the pollution prevention interns in this program. 1 billion pounds of hazardous materials were reduced, 52 billion gallons of water were saved, 20.8 million metric tons of greenhouse gas were eliminated, and 31.9 billion kilowatt hours of energy were saved. So the reason that I'm here speaking to you today about this program is I initiated this program where I worked at Tyson in 2017. And like I said, it's going to show you some data that's a little older, and these programs were actually done in 2017, but I'm looking to get it into the state of South Dakota. If you notice here, I had a pollution prevention intern in Storm Lake, Iowa, at the pork plant for Tyson. I had one in Lexington, Nebraska, at a beef plant for Tyson. In Emporia, Kansas, I had a further processing, which you consider, if you know, is packaging more, and pre-made foods. And then Amarillo, Texas, a beef plant. Now, if you see this, Texas, Kansas, Nebraska, and Iowa are all part of this program. South Dakota is not. Now, I contacted the EPA contact and asked if we could become part of this program. And she said she was excited about it. And so part of the reason that I also have Megan here is I'm hoping USD is our first university in South Dakota that gets on board with this. Because these interns are provided to industry to do this pollution prevention at a cost savings to them as well as to the schools, because they have students for the summer in a program, as well as to the community. I'm going to show you a video. It's called a Vimeo, but a video of what happens when the harvest, or they consider the Midwest, went ahead and made, because they were so impressed with Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, and these other ones, that they went ahead and made a video, EPA did, of the projects, and mine happened to just be in there. So I'd like to show it to you so you can understand some of the savings that we found, potential savings at Tyson.
Is our P2 partners. So EPA partially funds our P2 partners through grants to teach students pollution prevention strategies and to secure businesses to host the students. Our partners then coordinate and then run the student internships with the businesses and then work with data verification, etc. There are multiple parties involved with pollution prevention internship programs, and today we'll be hearing from the business perspective. So a few reasons just why pollution prevention is beneficial is that P2 programs, they are win-win-win initiatives. The companies hosting the interns win by gaining a greater understanding of what is happening within their facility and receiving recommendations on how to improve. Should the businesses choose to pursue the recommendations, they'll save money over time, have more efficient processes by conserving energy and water and or replacing hazardous chemicals. I'd call that a win. The interns win by getting hands-on experience with a real-world company. I've heard interns say this internship experience is eye-opening since they're not given all the variables like they are in the classroom. The interns need to track down the information and get creative, which better prepares them for the workforce. That's another win. The technical assistance providers, or TAP, or our partners, win by getting to share their expertise and do what they do best. All the results from the pollution prevention programs are due to their hard work, skills, and organization of the TAP. They get to do their jobs and tangibly see the positive changes that happen to the environment, the interns, the businesses, and the workers directly because of these programs. As I mentioned before, this is a win-win-win kind of a program. So another reason that pollution prevention programs are beneficial is because of the high return on investment. Over a 4-year period, about a $3 million investment in EPA pollution prevention and source reduction assistance grants saved Kansas, Iowa, Nebraska, and Missouri businesses about $34 million. That is more than an 11-fold increase. However, not only have the businesses saved about $34 million, but have also saved 2.4 billions of gallons of water, 131 million pounds of materials, and reduced 777,000 metric tons of carbon dioxide emissions. Let me just reiterate, an 11-fold increase on financial savings for businesses, in addition to saving billions of gallons of water, millions of pounds of material, and reducing thousands of pounds of metric tons of carbon dioxide. Sounds like a pretty good investment to me. In addition, an additional reason that pollution prevention programs are beneficial is the opportunity for innovation. Interns get to go into businesses with a fresh set of eyes. They can identify improvements or even question current operations because of a more efficient idea in mind of how things can be done. The pollution prevention internship program is a unique opportunity to have the students with cutting-edge education come into a facility and utilize their knowledge and creativity. For example, the company asked their intern for recommendations on what to do with a piece of equipment that was underutilized during the student's internship. The intern provided a few different options and associated costs for making the piece of equipment more advantageous. There are many possibilities for innovation within the pollution prevention intern program. In closing, I hope you are better able to see how pollution prevention programs are win-win-win programs, have high returns on investment, and there are opportunities for innovation by the end of this webinar. EPA has been involved with pollution prevention for 27 years, and our partners have been running these programs for a number of years. So feel free to reach out to us to learn more, and please consider filling out the 3-question survey at the end of the webinar to let us know if you would like more information. Enjoy the webinar. Thank you, Jean.
Thank you, Lisa.
Is that too loud?
And we'll just get right started here with Robin talking from Tyson. And Robin will just tell me when to move the slides.
Should I move
Thank
it
you,
down?
Jean and Lisa, and all of the presenters today,
Is that too
and also
loud?
all the states within the program. My name is Robin Schiro, and I'm a Senior Environmental Manager for Tyson Foods. And as a Heartland business, I wanted to share with you today some successes and some savings potentials that Tyson experienced by having pollution prevention interns this summer. Next slide, please. Tyson Foods is a food processing company. In 2015, Tyson decided as a corporation to set a water conservation goal to decrease water usage by 15% by 2020. In 2017, they took it even further. They decided as a corporation to make a sustainability commitment, to create a better workplace, be stewards of the animals, land, and environment. Next slide, please. It was a common theme to hear across the states that EPA targeted the food industry this year. So Tyson wanted to be proactive in pollution prevention by being part of such a great program as the Pollution Prevention Intern Program. Tyson applied for 2 interns in Iowa at 2 pork plants, but only 1 intern was secured. They applied in Nebraska for and applied and secured 1 beef plant intern. In Kansas, they applied and secured 1 further processing intern plant at that plant, and in Texas, they applied and secured 1 beef plant and 1 case-ready plant intern. Next slide, please. In Kansas, I'm going to go through the actual projects that the interns recommended, and the cost savings are listed, and the energy savings also, and the water savings for you, as well as the greenhouse gas emissions that were. So the compressed air was the first one, and a throughput that the plant has hidden air leaks. So the recommendation from the intern was to perform biannual air leak audits and tag and fix them. It can also be used, the equipment that they recommended to find failing bearings, and also in the panel room to detect arcing. So it actually was twofold, this project. Second one was lights that are left on in rarely used rooms. We have panel rooms that most employees are not allowed in those rooms for safety, but we also have non-panel rooms. The recommendation from the student was to replace the lights with LEDs and install occupancy sensors. Another project was the parking lot lamps require renovation, and 5 outdoor lamps are constantly on. So the recommendation by the intern was to replace the parking lot lamps with LEDs and to replace broken photocell sensors. Another project was that at Tyson we have what we consider to be vacuum package machines. We call them multi-vac packaging machines. And they use a constant stream of unrecycled cooling water. The recommendation with the intern was to install relay-controlled solenoid valves to reduce the water usage. And also, as an added benefit, was to consider a recycle loop for the water for this area. Another project is that there's current water heating system that we have overdraws steam from the boilers and has leaks. The recommendation from the student was to replace the heaters with new heaters and fix those leaks. Another issue was that we have a continuous drip urinal troughs in the men's restroom that are constantly running. The recommendation was to install solenoid valves on the relay timer so that this doesn't occur. Another issue was that we have hot water is constantly running at 2 locations to maintain our water temperature. The recommendation was to install electric tankless water heaters at each location and provide a point of use heating. If you can see that the savings would be costly. In the hot water bleed off, the reason the negative is because, of course, we're reusing the water, so therefore the heat is not being used. Next slide, please. In Iowa, our P2 intern, the projects, one of them was the water used to rinse employees' gloves in one area is continuously running. The recommendation by the student was to install panel activators using a knee or leg press on the panel for huge savings, underwater as well as financial. Water use, another project is water used for nightly sanitation of equipment. It has hoses continuously running water. The recommendation by the student was to install ball valves by the nozzles to be able to turn water on and off during downtime. Another project was that the water supplied to production equipment is kept on during breaks and shift changes. So a recommendation by the student was to have employees trained to and to turn off the water during breaks and shift changes. Another issue was that the sinks and faucets in one area are kept on to combat the time for the water to cool down, which is approximately only 5 seconds. The recommendation by the student was to have the employees trained and to do so of turning off the sinks and faucets when not in use. An additional recommendation that was an overall recommendation that the student made was to implement additional training on water conservation issues. Next slide, please. The intern in Nebraska issues that intern brought forward was the knife sterilizers that we use are constantly overflowing water. This is a project that Tyson is currently working on with a manufacturer of a new sterilizer to pilot a project that we are using an enclosed sterilizer to keep the water and the heat in the knife sterilizer. We hope that this process will be beneficial and bring about this cost savings. And you will see in the next slide when I get to it that Texas also had the same recommendation at that facility. Another recommendation was that their carcass wash, it has internal modifications of the current nozzle to reduce the water, but more could be done. The recommendation by the student was to install water-smart nozzles, which is a computer-controlled nozzle, which then will save water and money. Another issue was the nighttime cleaning, which uses our highest amount of water. It's the high flow nozzles time for high water pressure equipment cleaning. So the recommendation by the student was to use lower flow rate spray guns to reduce the volume of water used, and pressure will stay the same. Another issue was our blood collection system was losing plasma product, and the intern recommended to install an Anatech blood collection system with less resource consumption and higher blood collection yield. It's actually a hollow knife, which actually then helps to control the blood and to collect it. Next slide, please. In Texas, our intern looked at the wash cabinet nozzles and that they weren't operating at a much higher pressure than is recommended by the manufacturer. So the recommendation by the student was to optimize the flow and pressure to the cabinets and the nozzle replacement. Another project was that all the cattle drinking troughs are overflowing in our yard area due to constant operation of the bypass spigots, which are being used because of broken flotation systems in the troughs. So the recommendation by the student was to repair the flotation system. And as I stated, the same knife sterilizer project is being looked at and considered in the pilot phase at this project also. I wanted to be sure to let you know that the most projects that these students came up with have a payback of less than 2 years. Next slide, please. In summary, for the potential savings that Tyson could see, the annual savings could be $2.7 million plus. The water that could be conserved is approximately 186 million gallons. The energy that could be conserved is 77,000 plus MMBTU. Various chemicals can be served at certain projects, and the greenhouse gas emissions that would not be released would be 5,638 million tons of CO2 equivalent. Next slide, please. So in summary, the intern cost for Tyson was approximately $27,000 for all 4 students. The intern potential savings is $27 million plus for the projects that the students came forward with. That would be 1,000-fold savings. Tyson, as I stated, has started implementing the intern recommendations and will continue to do so as budget and time allow. The opportunities, we always like to look back and make sure that if there's something that we could do differently or that maybe we can work on or work towards, I consider them to be opportunities. And in this project with 4 interns at different locations, these are the opportunities that I felt maybe we could work on as a program together. The time when all of the process to secure an intern occurs is during the busiest time for our plants during the annual environmental reporting season. But it's worth all the effort in the end to work with the state agencies, and they were very accommodating, and I want to say how much I appreciated that during our busy time. It would also be beneficial if there would be more flexibility of states being able to secure interns from other states if they have qualified interns in those states, but none available in the state where the intern was requested. This would be very beneficial, I think, because Tyson did have 4 students in 4 different states. I think that's the reason I think it became prevalent. I appreciate that the states want to design their own program, But I think a consistent process of compiling the information from state to state would be good, so that when companies such as Tyson have interns in multiple states at multiple sites, the data can be reported consistently. We, as having 4 interns, we introduced them to each other and made sure that we gave them contact information so that they would be available to each other and brainstorm with each other, which I think is a great avenue for the students to learn from other students as well, and also from different facilities. Another issue is that it takes time to review the final work product due to mostly proprietary information. But one state, and the reason that I'm suggesting this is because one state held the intern's grade up while we reviewed the public submittal, and I feel that that's just not beneficial to that student because they did provide a lot of time and service. So that's just an example. I want to thank all of the states for their time, their energy, their effort, and of course their guidance with me. I appreciate it. We learned a lot. We feel that this was a beneficial program, and I am hoping that Tyson will have the same program next year and maybe for many years to come. Thank you.
So just to let you know, there's some sheets on your table. One of them shows the Iowa student, what her program, what she did. Another one is EPA's current amount that they have, P2 in action that they show currently for this 2024 year coming up, that what they had in different programs. And also then the last one is my summary of my presentation. If anybody's interested in the actual part at the back of it shows the talent pipeline potential. I know the numbers are older because it was done in 2017, but some things to let you know that, interns that are offered full-time positions at that time were about 67%. 83% of these offers were accepted. And then, of course, other ones were with the internship program. So I found that this program was very beneficial. I'm disappointed that over my lifetime it hasn't happened in South Dakota yet, but I'm hoping that Megan and other professors, as well as maybe all of you will help initiate this. I did talk to Chris Casson and also Sydney Davis, and I'm hoping that maybe they can initiate it with the Department of Ag and Natural Resources to that level. So it's very beneficial to industry. If you know somebody in industry, I did invite the 3 that did the panel for the Chamber for the Manufacturing week. I did invite all 3 of those gentlemen to this as guests in case they were interested in maybe hiring a pollution prevention intern. But they're very busy, and it's kind of a tough time to come at noon. But I did want to let you know, if you know of anybody that could use this program, it would be great. These kids, nobody suspects that they're there watching people because they're there at night and they're young kids. They don't think they're management, so they can see things that other employees cannot see, and management. They can find things that, they can go places and find things that people can't. So it's beneficial to industry to have these pollution prevention interns. And like I stated, that was $27,000 for 4 interns in 4 different states. And then to come up with that 27 million, I was like, that's a lot. So the companies could really benefit from this. So thank you very much. Appreciate your time. And I hope that some of you get energized and excited to help me and Megan get this going. So thank you. Yeah, if you have some. I feel bad that the data's older, but I've been waiting for somebody else to initiate this and get this going. So, yes.
Robin, it looks like, based on your presentation, that the background, the academic background of the students needs to be engineering or environmental science. So I know Professor Workin really is excited because he's marshaling students, internships. I'm not quite sure how applicable that would be to this particular program. What academic backgrounds did the interns have that were in this program?
So we had all levels. We had a PhD candidate for biomedical engineering. We had the one in Iowa, if you noticed on their table, is chemical engineer. We had different levels. They were not necessarily, one of them was straight environmental science, and so, you know that. I worked in marketing for a while as a product manager for Hawk, the water analytical instrumentation, largest water analytical instrumentation company in the U.S., HACH, it's pronounced Hawk. But as a marketing product manager, because anybody with a problem-solving, science-minded background can be a great marketer of any product, because they will look and find out and analyze what makes that product work, whether it's a technical product or not. And I realized that when I was a marketing manager for a water analytical instrumentation company, is you don't need to have that technical background to have the passion of, as long as you have a problem-solving want and desire and drive to solve the problem, to make that product better, whatever product it is. I mean, in my case, it was a technical product because it was a turb. I had the lab turbidimeters for water instrumentation for what you consider to be water and wastewater treatment plants. But what happens is because I was the kind of problem solver, I got the beer industry to use it. I got the wine industry to use it. I got the bottled water industry to use it. I got the champagne industry to use it. I got the distillers to use it. And I got to travel all over Europe because of that. So as a product manager, not as an engineer. And so I really think that it's that person's desire and drive that makes it, doesn't have to be a science-related person. And these pollution preventions, if a marketing can come up with pollution prevention, you know, it's source reduction. It doesn't have to be a technical person to find a source reduction. It's great that we have a sustainability department and environment department here at USD, but I don't think after working in marketing, a lot of people that I worked with in marketing were not technical people, and they did a really great job on the technical side. So I don't think necessarily that it is. It's all the person themselves, I think, that makes it.
This is maybe a little bit more of a question for Megan, but obviously not as part of this program since it doesn't exist in South Dakota, but do sustainability students ever do projects where they do like kind of audits in industry of sustainability practices? Is that something that happens at all?
Okay, I would say that that's an area we could get better. A bunch of us are natural scientists, and so our sustainability undergraduate majors are required to have internships, so like building corporate relationships would be great and be very good for students. A bunch of our faculty, actually our background is more in the research part than doing industry partnerships. So we're hiring a person right now who hopefully will bring some of that expertise, but no, in general, that's an area we're looking to grow our expertise. And so having a program where, of course, the federal government and then the company helps pay the student is very, very good for us because the student gets the opportunity, but they're paid, and we're not coming up with the money. So, I mean, I think, yes, we work with community partners to do projects, but often it actually is in corporations because I think that is an area we could build relationships better.
Great question.
My bachelor's degree is in environmental studies, and I was surrounded by people who wanted to save the whales, they wanted to be forest rangers, work in canopies of the rainforest, whatever, and I wanted to work on reducing sulfur emissions from coal-fired power plants. So I worked in the petrochemical industry and made an actual difference, I think. But you're right, you don't have to know everything as an undergrad. When you get your bachelor's degree, you'll learn on the job. And something you said before, you have to have the drive, because you're butting heads against people who don't want to change. They have very slim profit margins, and anything you do to impact the profit margin is going to be met with skepticism. So you have to have that money-saving bottom line there, generally, to make it go. And anyway, it's well worth it. Working in industry can actually make a difference. Yeah, it can actually make a difference.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks. One of the things, just to let you know, I'll be right there, is that the different states had different programs, so that when I was saying how the states, I wish it was more in lines together, is that some of the states, we paid the state agency, like Department of Ag and Natural Resources, or in Iowa, Department of Environmental Quality. And then in other states, we paid the student directly, and then in other states, we paid this college, the university. So each of these programs is so varied that each state, what they do. And so it would be great if all of you would get involved in South Dakota to make it so it's easier for everybody to have a program that is beneficial to everybody. So go ahead, young man.
So you applied this to the packing plants. Can you apply this to South Dakota? I've written down, I believe there's 3 large packing plants in South Dakota, probably a dozen large commercial colony packing plants in-house of poultry and pork. There's probably 20 large hog confinements in the state, 10 large, these are by industry standards and regulations, 20 large hog confinements, 10 large cattle feedlots, 15 large sale barns, and numerous local butchers, mom and pop businesses in town. They consume a lot of water.
Right.
Can you help them?
I think this program can do that. Like we stated, in fact, if you'll see in the Iowa presentation, her pamphlet that I put out there, the copy of, that was a program that was made by the state of Iowa for all of their interns that they had. And this is just one page out of that program. But she stated how we couldn't do a mass balance of our water at any one of our facilities when we had these interns come in. And it was horrible. Every morning we would get an email about how much water every night was being used. And part of that is, as you process and package meat, the water is used in sanitation also, but also used to cleaning during the day and things. And so most of our product was going down the drain. And we figured that out because it was going with all that water. And so that was when we decided this pollution prevention intern program, we would have them. Where is that product going? I mean, even you saw the blood. The blood is a product that we sell. It's plasma we sell, and it's a product that we need, and we were just pouring it down the drain at that actual location. And so, I mean, a lot of the product was going down the drain, and I think, yes, it could be applicable to all these. The rest of the presentation, I only showed my portion of it. Smithfield was in there, different ones, even some from Sioux City were in that presentation because of Iowa also being in the presentation. So I just showed you only my portion, but yes, it can be applicable to any of these packaging plants or any of the harvest sites or any of that.
I just want to say, all of those places Scott was talking about, plus the cheese factory and all that, and the high water users, they'll have an NPDES permit, the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permit, an element of which requires them to have a program to reduce the amount of water they use and the pollutant loading. It doesn't require them to have a successful program, though. You know, you can have a program, because what if you work product, your volume goes up, you could use more water. So they don't have to reduce it by a certain amount. They have to have a program in place. The auditing of those programs sometimes, well, doesn't exist. But they do have permits where they have to have a certified PE sign. They have an NPDES permit, a wastewater discharge program in place. So there is a program, it's just not audited.
I'd be willing to help them. I'm sure Megan would too, to get this program initiated so we can get helping the other areas in South Dakota. I don't see it as look, it's only $27,000 for 4 students. I mean, when you look at that, in fact, it states which state paid what. We paid for which one at each state on the pamphlet, but $27,000 for 4 students to come up with all that savings. I mean, it would be a no-brainer if I owned my own company right now, that I wouldn't, put this program in place. The way that the funding from EPA helps pay for these students, the school gets research projects, because one of them used it as his PhD dissertation. That's why I said they were holding up his dissertation until we approved of it, because we had to approve of all the pictures, all the, things like that. And so I just don't see it as it would be a win-win to me if I was an employer to hire one of these pollution prevention interns. Thank you very much. Oh, I get to draw?
We get to do the 50/50.
You know, I've never won this. It'd be nice if I could pull my own.
Oh, no, if you pull your own, people ask questions. So,
Getting way in the bottom.
way on the bottom. Patty! Patty
Ooh,
Rosdale's not here today. Oh,
does that mean she doesn't get it?
she'll get it. Tell
Oh
your
my
present to win.
goodness.
Present.
Tell her I feel bad for her.
And Patty's usually